You're already here, Arnold. Yeah, welcome, Arnold. He's doing 2 presentations in a row, but I will come in between to change the slides. And yeah, I'll give you the word. Welcome, Arnold.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning, still good morning, and happy to be here again. I guess you already saw me in the role at PeeringDB, and I will have another talk, and probably you will see me in a new role there. So happy to talk to you about PeeringDB. I want just recap what PeeringDB is for the newcomers, and then look into more detail what's new. So PeeringDB just is a database on interconnection. Basically, what do you need if you want to interconnect? You are either a network service provider in a large chain to run an ASN, or if you want to interconnect, you do it at internet exchanges, or you interconnect on a private basis in facilities. And basically, this information is in PeeringDB about networks. We call it networks, ASN, about facility, IXPs. And what we recently added is also a new object. This is a carrier object. And this put into a database with a nice graphical user interface, but therefore it's also an API, and that basically is what PeeringDB is. The data within PeeringDB, it's user maintained. That means if you request an object to be added, you have to take care of that. And this is also, I ask you to do that, not only to put it in, but every now and then and look, okay, are the contacts still in place? Did I add all my presence at facilities? Is the data about my connection at internet exchange point? Okay. So roughly, meanwhile, I guess it's 8 years ago, people found out that PeeringDB is a critical piece of database for the running of the internet exchange. Until then, it was really covered by volunteers, but then we found out there has to be an organization behind it to take care or to make PeeringDB viable for a lifetime. And therefore, an association was founded in the US. It's a 501c6 volunteer organization, and this is 100% funded on sponsorship. Meanwhile, PeeringDB is a healthy organization, financial-wise, and there is a board, and the board takes care of is executing long-term strategic plans. This association also has members, and becoming a member is relatively easy. You only have to have a database record, and then you have to subscribe to a certain mailing list. This is a governance mailing list, and then your organization automatically is a member of the association and can vote and can be voted on, for example, being a board member. The organization itself is almost 100% still run by volunteers. So we have several departments. We call it committees. There is the admin committees, which you probably would compare in a company. This is the support department. And whenever you request an object to be added to the database, automatically a ticket is created and will be sent to the support department. Or if you have a question about PeeringDB, you send an email to support@peeringdb.com, and there is a team of the admins who takes care of that. Then on the other hand, there is the product committee. So PeeringDB is not set in stone. There are always feature requests. We have to take care of bugs, and this is the product department who takes care of that. And besides the members of the product committee, since a couple of months, we also have a product manager. and the product manager is being paid for. And this is Leo Vigoda, you probably also know from RIPE. Then we have the, I would call it, marketing department, which we call outreach. They manage marketing and do social media postings, and they also develop and maintain presentation, workshop, and webinars. And I'm also a member of the outreach committee, and they did not send me here, but I said I will be at SwiNOG and do a presentation on PeeringDB. And last but not least, of course, the operations committee. We have to run servers, we have to run software, and this is the operations committee which takes care of that. To give you an idea how many support tickets PeeringDB is processing meanwhile, so expected for this year 12,000 tickets we are processing. That means meanwhile we are taking care of roughly 30 tickets per day, and the second graph shows you the response time. It's not only the response time, it's the resolution time. That means within 0.27 days, that means under 8 hours average, each ticket is resolved. We are still looking for volunteers, and we have filled all the open positions in the other committees, but the operations committee is still looking for members. This is a small group. It's small and it's highly trusted. And if you have experience with containers, that would be a plus. And if you are interested and can spare some hours per week or per month, then please apply to Stuart's. So this is the overall what PeeringDB is. What we also recently in the last year did is to rely on volunteer contributions. So we had, especially we have contributors and sponsors who heavily rely on PeeringDB, and they are really interested in that PeeringDB is working. So we had security changes from Amazon, and we have UX changes from Google, and also very other changes from individuals. So we had an overall product improvement, better support tools. What we also do is we pull information from the IXPs, these so-called IXF JSONs, to match this information against what the networks put in. So earlier I said that all the information is user maintained, but for example, your connection to an internet exchange point, of course, the IXP also has a view on that. And we match this information, and if we detect a mismatch, then we send an email both to the IXP as well as to network and say, hey, we detected a mismatch, please resolve it. We made it also more visible if the network is peering with a route server. And what we also did is enable multi-factor authentication. You can also, as an admin of an organization, specify email domains and say, I only allow newbies to request affiliation with my organization if they match this email domain. And you can also specify that the users have to revalidate their accounts periodically. I guess this is, we added a lot of bug fixes and nice fields. For example, you now can see when an organization or network last updated their connections to an internet exchange point, updated or added last time, or updated their presences at facilities, and also updated their point of contacts. What we did is we introduced in 2.26 already a couple of months ago is API keys. So basically, the motivation behind it that we found out that script kiddies are hammering the database and excessively, and because we are running the infrastructure in a cloud, the more cloud usage we have, the more we have to pay for. And on the other hand, also, then the performance is degraded. So there was a reason to introduce the API keys and also to rate limit unauthenticated API queries. I already mentioned it, two-factor authentication. Either use one-time passwords, or you can also use security devices for that. And I strongly encourage everyone who has an account on PeeringDB to enable two-factor authentication. Unfortunately, you as an admin not yet can enforce it, but of course you can go to your users you see with red widgets with your organization and say, hey, I want you to enable 2FA. And always, searching is always an interesting topic. We have done a hackathon at NANOG 83, and this improved, but the latest improvement really comes from something, we call it V2 searching, and if you go to PeeringDB, you can click on a link and say, okay, I want to do V2 searching, and this does more natural language searching. For example, what you can say, IXs in Germany. And then it lists all the IXs which have a presence in Germany, or networks in XYZ, and so on. And it's quite fast. Please use it. There is also a button where you can give feedback on searching for that. I have to go through this because I only have, I stop here. So PeeringDB is done by volunteers, and probably you know it when scripting for yourself. Last, what you do is to document, because you say, I know what I do. This is almost the same with PeeringDB. The documentation with PeeringDB, diplomatically saying, had still room for improvement. So our product manager, at least what he did is to write some how-tos. And what I ask you to do is, if you miss something, please tell us. Because, for example, I'm now working with PeeringDB for more than 15 years. The new version of PeeringDB was also a steep learning curve for me, but meanwhile I know where it is. But for the first time, a user, you'd see, okay, how is it organized? I see organization, and then I see add networks, I said add IXPs, and so on. And it's easily to get lost there. So please tell us. Then I have a nice slide with Switzerland from a PeeringDB point of view. I do not go into details. A lot of that already Vesna also mentioned is, this is a number of IXPs, number of operators, facilities, and then the networks at Internet Exchange Point. Then also I look more into detail how of these networks are Swiss networks, and Swiss means I take this information from the RIRs, where the RIRs say this ASN is somehow, I do not know, maybe of course they have an ASN and a CC code relationship. I do the same for facilities and so on and so on. It's interesting. So I see 10,050 ASNs in the RIR and 323 only in PeeringDB. So there is also room for improvement, because you only get an ASN if you at least lie to RIPE and say, I want to peer. So we talked about it. We have a new object carrier. So what we found out, Internet is IP, but interconnection is more than just IP. And this carrier object means or is for organization who offer carrier services. That means layer 1 and layer 2 services. And what we want to do is to link the facilities via these carriers. And with this, and probably also what we do is to add services to which services they are offering. For example, Ethernet, MPLS, wavelengths, dark fiber, and so on. And then you could, for example, say, okay, this is facility A and this is facility B. Is there a path in between from carrier XYZ? And also, this is not really new object, but what we did is campus. So there are several facility operators which have nearby data centers, and for whatever reasons, they say, okay, this is my Zurich 1, this is my Zurich 2, this is my Zurich 3, and they are really close to each other. And what you want to do is to say, I want to show on one page where all the networks in this facility are, because it doesn't matter whether they are in Zurich 1 or Zurich 3, you can easily get in PNI in between. And now there is a campus object. You say, okay, this is my campus Zurich, and then what you do is you say, for this campus Zurich, there is facility Zurich 1, Zurich 2, and Zurich 3, which belongs to it. And then you will see from the campus object which networks are there, which internet exchanges are there. PeeringDB does almost have and deploy a new version every month, and we have a strict release schedule for that. We have release numbers, then we do an internal testing, beta release. We have a beta website, beta.peeringdb.com, where you can look up or test new features, and then a week later we put it into production. Here are the releases for the upcoming. What we did today is we put 2.48 in beta, and we'll put it into production next week. So someone, maybe I removed the sponsor slides. As said, PeeringDB is sponsored. We have different sponsorship levels from silver to diamond, and please sponsor PeeringDB, because this is the only way PeeringDB can run. And the silver sponsorship is as cheap as $200 per month. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions. One remark, I'm heavily hearing impaired. So if I don't understand, that's not because I don't want to answer the question, I simply don't get it. Any questions?
Just a comment again. I would like to thank you and the volunteer a lot for all the work that has been done with PeeringDB, because it's amazing. And yeah, thank you very much for that.
Any more questions?
Hello. Is there an offline version of PeeringDB?
A what?
An offline
version. Yes. What you can do is you can run a copy offline and synchronize also with a Python script. So this is especially if you want to test it. If you are a large organization, it's also please do it. Yeah. Other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm staying here, and I just changed my hat. So.
Just a second. So now the SwiSX.
Yeah, so I now put on my...
Okay.
So, I'm Arnold Nipper. Hi. And this is the first time I'm here and do the SwiSIX update. You probably have seen me doing DKIX updates for several years. I'm still with DKIX. I'm also happy with DKIX. But I'm also on the SwiSIX board since February last year. And yeah, we wanted to do an update on SwiSIX. I also have Matthias with me. Matthias, please stand up. And Sebastian, where are you? So Sebastian is also happy to answer any question in French. I cannot do it. And I also have Urs here. Urs, where are you? Urs is here. Yeah. So, and they asked me to do the update because they said you do it all the time and you also can do it. So, what is SwiSIX? So I called it, SwiSIX is an old-timer with a new powerful engine under the hood. So looking back, we had our general meeting last Friday, and we also had a party over there. SwiSIX was founded in 2001 and is within one of the oldest internet exchanges in Europe. It's organized as an association, and currently we have 237 members and participants doing 500 gigabits of peak and 300 gigabits average. We have a so-called freemium model. That means the 1 gig ports are still free, and if you want to have more bandwidth, 10 gigabits, 100 gigabits, you have to pay for. There is a Google Docs document on the internet where I guess Europe and some others do or rank the pricing between the different IXPs. I do not know, is it worldwide, Europe-wide, and SwiSIX definitely has still a very competitive pricing. What SwiSIX also did is, in the early days, the board also ran the technical operation, and then they found out it's too much, and then they outsourced the technical operation. And what they also did now is they were looking for a new organization to run the operations. So, and what were the outsourcing goals? So the old partner, it was, how do you call it, system house? No, system partner who also does outsourcing for enterprises, but was not specially or specialized on IXP operation. Therefore, the idea already came out years ago was, okay, the partner must have experience with an IXP and should actively and verifiably manage this market. This means they were looking for an IXP operator running the technical infrastructure. We also wanted to have 24/7 operation and support with guaranteed response time. The SwiSIX must remain the owner of the platform and has full control over all components and configuration, at least in the event of an emergency. When the lock-in should be avoided, and an exit strategy for the event of economic difficulties for the partners involved must be in place before the start of the replacement. What we also wanted to have is the certainty that with the new operators that we have a plan for at least 5 years. And the location and ownership of any data should remain entirely with SwiSIX. We also want to be future-proof, not only for the platform, but also for the services. That means further services comparable to the neighboring IXPs should be easy implemented. And the replacement must be possible with a reasonable time frame with available human resources of SwiSIX. And this is the new SwiSIX topology. I guess it's way too small that you really can understand it. So, but we will provide these slides, and then you can have closer look into that. Basically, what has been done is it's complete new fibers for the platform. There are 2 cores. There are 400 gigabit core bandwidths, upgradable, easily upgradable, and each of the what's called edge switches, edge routers, has fully redundant connection to both core sites. The new hardware is Nokia, and the VPLS was migrated to an enhanced EVPN, and we now have BERT route service, and it's planned as soon as the operator also is able to write open BGPD to replace one of the BERT route servers with open BGPD. The new self-service portal, which gives the ability of enhanced black holing. That means black holing not only on layer 3, but also on layer 4. And you will also have enhanced statistics. What we can see, this is the band traffic before and after. So with the EVPN, what also was introduced is a proxy app for or proxy agent for V4 and V6. So the agent sits already on the edge device, and there is a table with IP V4 or IP address and MAC binding, and the device already answers all of the traffic. So that way, there is less, of course, ARP traffic and neighbor discovery traffic, and also there is no chance to do a proxy ARP anymore. The overall finding is planning is key, not that everyone knew about it. Tell exactly what you want, and the other said, reflect really what you understood. What we also found out is a clash of culture. So SwiSIX compared to DKIX, both in what you have to know what we want, and they said, oh, you should have tell us, and so on and so on. And I have to say, it's really, last year both for SwiSIX and DKIX were really hard, but in the end, if both sides want, we can make it work. Also, on the one hand, there was Swiss law, on the other hand, there were German laws, and this was also difficult to figure out. The migration itself went very smooth, thanks to also Urs, who did a tremendous job there. So what will SwiSIX 23 look like? So I said we had the general meeting. Vivi is no longer the president. Matthias volunteered to be the president, and we have a new board member, which is Reto Grunder from Green. Now that the technical operation is secured, what we are looking into is a business development, marketing, customer care manager who takes care of that. This position is still open. If you know anyone or if you are interested, please send an email or an application to info@swisix.ch. What the board is doing, we have strategy meetings to set the direction also for the newly to be hired general manager. And that's it from my side, and I'm in time.
Thank you very much.
So for questions, I'm happy to answer them, but Matthias will definitely be the better person to answer these questions. Any questions about it? There is. So still don't forget to talk loud and clearly.
Sure. Couple of questions. A couple of comments.
One after the other, please.
I think one thing that was maybe feedback for the board, open feedback, I think something that was missed is that, yes, there's an outsourcing, but part of what makes SwiSIX is that it's Swiss. It supports the Swiss industry, talent, knowledge. With the outsourcing agreement to DENOG, we lose that within Switzerland. We don't have local companies. We're not developing local talent. We're not supporting the local industry. So that's one thing. With that, there's
So
also...
this is not a question.
Comments.
Okay.
With that, there's also why were certain components changed away from things like OpenBSD? We've now got a closed source peering manager. What was the technical rationale there to replace existing things that were working with things that are looking at the peering manager, half broken, not quite working, a little bit confusing? What was the rationale there with sort of keeping?
I answer that
components?
question. The simple rationale behind is because the company which does the outsourcing now does not run the IXP manager. And it was way easier for them to integrate it to that what they are doing. And the SwiSIX board was happy with that.
Okay. Last question. You're employed by DENOG, correct?
Excuse me?
But you're employed by DENOG?
I'm an employee of DENOG, yes.
So you're also on the board of SwiSIX. Any
I am.
future decisions that are made by SwiSIX could potentially benefit you financially or benefit DENOG? Is there no sense of the Swiss neutrality, being impartial with your position on the board and also being an employee of the primary subcontractor?
The decision to go with DENOG was also made before I was on the board. On the other hand, I'm a personal member of SwiSIX for years, and therefore I think I can be split beside DENOG and SwiSIX. I have to say, my heart is, I founded DENOG, and I have worked for DENOG, and I still work for DENOG for several years. On the other hand, my heart is for internet exchanges, regardless of DENOG, SwiSIX, or name them.
Sure. Okay. And with some of the renaming of all the things in the portals and whatnot, and calling some of the points DENOG Zurich #2 and whatnot, is there plans for DENOG to extend the reach and take over more of SwiSIX?
Maybe, sorry if I'm interrupting, but maybe this is kind of a discussion now. So maybe you could discuss.
So on any question regarding DENOG, as far as I've seen, there's a DENOG representative here as well. Please ask him. I can tell you.
Sure.
Because I don't know. Okay, any questions? As said, if you have any questions about SwiSIX, Matthias is there, Sebastian is also there. If you have technical questions, Urs will be happy to answer them as well. And I, of course, is too.
Thank you very much, Arnold.